Welcome to episode 74 of In Touch with iOS, a podcast that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies plus tips, apps, and gear. And I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and this is a special episode. I have my guest and live in person here in beautiful Woodstock, Illinois, Mr. Mike Potter from Mac Eyes Only and from MacStock, of course. How you doing, Mike?
Hey, Dave. How you doing?
Good.
And yes, that was me clinking mugs in the background.
That's okay.
We're here in my Erzatz studio at
my
office.
I'll open my bottled water here.
There you go. Open up your bottled
cap,
water
so
with just all kinds of liquid refreshment noises we've got going on here.
And this is actually the very first episode I'm going to get to use. Mike, you got the honors of being the very first person. I'm using my Rodecaster Pro board here to record the episode, and I'm super excited about that. So hopefully it sounds a lot better than it has in the past, but I guess we'll soon find out after post, but we'll see what happens here.
You should be excited. That is a really cool device.
Yeah.
I'm a little jealous, I have to say. I actually have been looking at that one myself. I mentioned on Chuck's Mac Voices last week that I'm investigating ways to improve the sound in the breakout room at MacStock, and that Rodecaster is actually one of the devices I've been looking at. So this is my opportunity to see it firsthand.
Yeah. It's been on my wish list for a while, and well, I got lucky and was able to pull the trigger, and I bought actually just yesterday as we record this episode. So we're kind of out of sync. Warren will actually be back on our next episode, but I figured why not? I'm here with Mike. We wanted to talk about MacStock, talk about iOS, talk about all kinds of fun stuff this week. So first thing we can talk about is the fact that you said to me that you have not upgraded to iOS 13 as of yet. You're probably one of the very few people I know are at a holdout for
Am
that.
I?
Maybe. I mean, Warren's one to upgrade right away, so I don't expect he's already on every beta you can think of right now. He's already on beta 13.3. So, but what is your thoughts on why you're holding off?
I used to do that. I used to be on the beta program, and I used to get all the latest and greatest on both my Macs and iOS devices. But yeah, something is holding me back this time, and I think it's just there are so many major changes in Mac OS that I'm pretty much locked to Mojave on most of my Macs. To be honest, I'm dependent upon a number of different apps that simply will not be upgraded to 64-bit. And I feel like I'm kind of stuck there for a while. So the hesitation on iOS is not so much because of the reports we're hearing about these people having that problem or this person having the other problem or whatever. Because normally I'll just upgrade right away. I'll keep my wife and daughter from upgrading, but I'll upgrade it and I'll be the guinea pig and I'll say, okay, let's go ahead and test this out. But this time I've only upgraded a couple iPads. We have an old iPad Air that actually upgraded itself. We weren't expecting it to. And then we have another newer iPad. Let's see, what are they on now? Fifth generation iPad? Is that the current one?
7th gen.
I mean the $329 one.
Yeah,
what are they calling it? They're calling it 7th gen?
I think it's 7th gen.
Okay, sorry. So I then have a... Oh, no, it is a 5th gen. I have a 5th gen then.
Right.
And we did upgrade that one.
Well, you said the Air. I thought you have the Air or the Air 2.
Air 2.
I think the Air, because Air is the end of the road. Yeah, I just make sure.
I was
clarify that.
Abbreviating the name. Yeah, it's an Air 2.
Yeah.
And so we got both of those upgraded. Not seeing a whole lot that's new or different in terms of what I do with it. I would be upgrading my iPhone except for reminders.
Yes.
Reminders is the thing that's keeping me from upgrading, really. Has nothing to do with anything else on iOS other than reminders. I have actually in the past year or so come to become dependent upon reminders. I never used them before. And now I started using them about a year and a half ago for MacStock.
Mm-hmm.
Have come to depend upon them.
Yes.
And with my inability to upgrade, not my inability to upgrade there are two of my Macs that I can't upgrade past Mojave. Right. But my inability to upgrade my Macs because of certain apps I use and things like that, I know I can just not tap that upgrade now button. I don't have to upgrade to the new format.
Yeah.
But I'm reasonably confident, and I may be wrong on this, but Apple's going to force our hand at some point.
You would think.
At some point along the line, they're going to say, okay, you've had plenty of opportunity to upgrade all your computers to Catalina and all your iPhones to iOS 13. So you just have to go to the new format.
Right.
And I think that's kind of what's keeping me from upgrading. So I have been investigating other reminder apps. I've been looking at actually Microsoft To
Sure.
Do,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
which
I've,
looks
I've been playing with that. Yep.
pretty good.
hmm
The hesitation there is not the other apps. It's that there isn't or doesn't seem to be a very easy way to get the reminders that are in Apple's reminders into the other reminder apps, and that's kind of been my holdup. So I've just kind of been in this pattern, kind of circling around iOS 13 and Catalina. I did upgrade my MacBook to Catalina, but that's kind of my sacrificial lamb Mac
right.
these days. Uh, but that's it. I mean, everything else that I use, I use the Sling Studio for MacStock, and that is
Yep.
driven by the iPad Pro.
Mhm.
So I was a little hesitant at first to upgrade that, but no, Sling says everything's good. They're good for iOS 13, so there shouldn't be any hesitation there on upgrading it. I don't know. There was promise of a calculator coming to iOS 13 on the iPad, and that hasn't happened, I don't think. So I have no real incentive to upgrade at this point. Although I will. I will. It just hasn't
No,
happened yet.
you're probably smart compared to a lot of people, and we talked about it on previous episodes. The fact that you started at 13.0. I, of course, as everybody knows, I have the iPhone 11 Pro Max.
Yeah.
So as soon as it came out, it was 13.0. But then 2 days later, 13.1 comes out, 13.11, then .12. So it just kept going. We talked about this, and
That's always concerning to
and
me.
it's concerning. I mean,
Yeah.
this has been, and I can't say I blame you, because this has been kind of one of the more bizarre releases with Apple, because I've not seen them have this many releases of fixes and bug fixes on a version than in the past. I mean, maybe they weren't being as aggressive as they are now. Hard to say, but they're realizing that there has been some bugs, and they really rushed to get iOS 13 out, especially because the new iPhones came out. So,
Well, and yeah, and I guess that's probably the main driving factor behind rushing it out like they did. But the weird thing to me was not to focus on this too much, but
yeah.
reminders.
Well, yeah, and then you send
So here,
reminders. Yeah.
iOS 13, they upgraded everybody to iOS 13, and then kind of retroactively said, "Oh yeah, by the way, don't upgrade the database on it if you haven't upgraded to Catalina." Which, oh, by the way, you can't do that yet because we haven't released it.
Right.
So the whole process, the whole release process
It
of
was
one followed by the other,
not so
but
good.
then this little dependency on the two was a little weird. A little weird.
Yeah.
Didn't seem like the planning was quite there for it.
So it sounds to you. It sounds like more of the reminders is really affecting your decision to really just go forward. Is there any other things that have been holding you back?
No, not really. I mean, quite honestly, most of the apps I use on it are not Apple apps. The primary app that I use that is Apple is probably Messages.
Okay.
Other than that, though, most everything else I use is third-party apps, and all those have been upgraded and they're ready to go for iOS 13. So I don't think there are really any major stopgaps. I'm looking right now at my phone as we're talking, and
Yeah.
it's Firefox has actually become my primary browser
Oh,
on
really?
iOS. I love Firefox on iOS. I've come to get a little tired of Chrome. It's gotten a little sloggy to me.
I'm a Firefox user on my Mac, so that's my primary
And it
browser.
syncs beautifully to the Mac. I love it, and I love being able to send a tab from one device to the other. I think
Yeah.
that's a fantastic feature. I do use the Google app for news. I use Fantastical. I use Hangouts, Google Hangouts, and Gmail, the Gmail app,
Sure.
and those are the primary apps on my main screen. And as I'm flipping through the other screens, most everything else that I use is third party. So
It should be solid on 13.
yeah, and they're all very solid on there. I'm not even all that heavy of a FaceTime user, which is a little surprising, but
Yeah.
I do use messages a lot.
It's interesting you say Firefox is being your default browser because I don't hear that too often, which is good. No, I mean it's a good thing because I really like Firefox a lot. I think it's on the Mac. That's my I go back between the Chrome and Firefox, and there's some apps I have to use Chrome for reasons the way they are. I've pretty much have abandoned Safari on the Mac. I don't really use Safari that often, although I find myself still using the Safari browser on iOS more. But that's interesting that you say that. I may go back and explore it a little further. Firefox also has a other browser. I don't know if you're familiar with it called Firefox Focus,
I
and
am.
and
Yes.
that's the privacy browser.
Yes.
Which is awesome because you can just launch this browser, and if you want to surf private, because there's a lot of times you go to some of these websites, you don't want them looking at downloading cookies and a lot of the stuff that you want to keep it to be a private browsing experience, not having to turn it on. Well, they've got a focused. Well, it's called Focus, so focused browser for just that reason.
I have gotten pretty good at the keystrokes for turning into the privacy browsing mode on the Mac. I either Shift Command N or Shift Command P. Shift Command P is Firefox. Firefox actually makes it pretty easy to shift into privacy browsing mode,
Yeah.
but it's nice to have that on by default, and that's where Focused is great. I was thinking about it as you were talking there. I all but abandoned Chrome,
Yeah.
and it's not really because it was actually it did become a bit of a problem on the Mac. The Chrome syncing had gotten incredibly problematic on Mac OS. On iOS, it still worked, but on Mac OS, it
Yeah.
kept logging me out. It kept making me re-sign in, and I finally I got tired of it.
Sure.
I said, "That's it. I need to find another Chromium browser that isn't Chrome." And oddly enough, I settled on Opera. I went through a lot
Yeah.
of different,
Which is on iOS.
yeah, which is on iOS. I
Mm.
don't use it on iOS,
No. Right.
but I've settled on Opera as a Chromium browser after going through probably two or three different browsers that run on the Chromium engine. And that's because I do use primarily two different browsers. Firefox is my daily driver, and then the secondary browser that I often use for client work or I use for business specific things was Chrome.
Mhm.
And I wanted a nice, easy way to get everything that was in Chrome over to another browser, and sticking with Chromium helped with that.
Right.
And then, like you, I never really have used Safari,
Well,
and
on
it's
Mac. Yeah.
on Mac,
Yeah.
and I don't really use it on iOS except when it opens un, unbeknownst to me.
Right.
When you're in an app and it just goes to open your browser, and what does it default to? It defaults to Safari. So that's that's the few times I use Safari on iOS. Otherwise, it's Firefox.
Okay. Right. So, didn't think we'd get into that discussion, but that's great. I mean, I think we don't because a lot of people are always asking me about, you know, why all these different browsers. And I've done browsers in the past. And one other browser I'll mention too is Edge. I'm
Edge,
super stoked about Edge now being a Chromium based
yeah.
version. I've been beta testing the Mac version, and they already had the iOS version as it is. So I think Edge is going to be another browser to look at for the future because Microsoft announced that it's going to be released to everybody in January 15th for on Windows as well as Mac and on iOS too. It's going to be something to take a look at. I mean, I found some. I found that it is very efficient and it's fast for compared to Chrome for sure. So it's another browser to look at as well.
It's easy to just jump and say, well, it's Microsoft, so I hate it because I'm an Apple guy, right?
Uh,
But the truth is, Microsoft has been doing some wonderfully great stuff
Amazingly, yeah.
in recent years. And it's funny how a simple change in leadership can bring about that kind of change.
Satya Nadella has just made a world of difference.
He's a fantastic CEO, and I'm so happy that Microsoft found him and put him in charge because they're really doing some great stuff there. I love their investment in the Linux community. I love their investment in open source in general.
Yeah,
I love the fact that they have switched to the Chromium engine for Edge. As funny as that sounds, or as funny as it will sound when I say this, Edge is going to have to really prove itself to me. When started with web browsers back in 94 and 95. There were only a couple choices. And one of those choices was from the University of Illinois, actually,
Yeah,
is
right.
where that browser came from. And
Mosaic.
that was the original Internet Explorer engine was based on that.
Right.
And then Microsoft split from there and built their own engine. And as is kind of the case with Windows, it never really fully gelled into something that was safe and secure and fast, you know. And it was a very smart decision of theirs to switch to Chromium. I'm still waiting for one of my predictions to come true. I made this prediction in a blog post years ago. It must be 10 plus years ago. I made this prediction in a blog post that Microsoft would dump the NT kernel and move to the Unix Linux kernel. And I still think
It's
that
possible.
is a now more than ever. That's a
Okay.
distinct possibility, and I would love to see that happen. I don't know what that would mean for other operating systems out there, but I do and I would love to see that happen because I would love to see some of the apps that are currently Windows and or Mac only take that leap to Linux. Linux is a wonderful daily driver these
Yeah, it is.
days. Daily driver these days. It's a wonderful daily driver. It makes a great desktop operating system, but there are still some key apps that are missing. And I think a push from someone like Microsoft with the installation base that they have to that kernel would help companies like Adobe decide to make that. I'm actually surprised Adobe hasn't done it yet.
Yeah, I mean, and I talked about Adobe last episode about Photoshop for the iPad. They finally released it. Again, I think Adobe is really slow to the game. Adobe likes their subscription service, and they're just sitting back and being comfortable. Not only for Mac PC as well as iOS, and I think people want to be able to do a lot of their editing on their iPads these days, and it's just unfortunate that they haven't reacted to that as of yet either. So
Well, the interesting thing is that I've actually said, and I can't remember if I said this on For Mac Eyes Only, if I said this in a blog post, or if I just said it in a casual conversation with
sure,
someone, but Adobe can control the entire stack if they create their own distro.
true.
I mean, think about that. The Adobe Linux distro with the Adobe apps built in, available with a subscription. I'm not a fan of the subscription, but this is what they're going to do.
Right.
Available with a subscription. So now they control the operating system and the apps that creatives want to use. And all you really need to do is have a hardware platform to stick it on. Well, guess what? They can do that too if they really want to. I don't think they should. But if they came out with their own distro and built the Creative Cloud suite into it, man, that would be a killer to Microsoft and
Yeah.
Apple both.
So let's change gears a little bit here. I found this news story on 9 to 5 Mac. Well, no, it was a good discussion. I'm not, you laugh, but I want to get us spinning back onto iOS here a little bit, and an Apple Watch is my topic here.
You
Um,
might say we want to get back in touch with
in touch
iOS.
with iOS, yes.
Yes.
Very good. And there was an article on 9 to 5 Mac. I'll have a link in the show notes on how the Apple Watch Noise app changed the life of his son with autism.
Hmm.
Have you used the Noise app at all on your Apple Watch?
No,
Are you familiar with it?
no, I have not. Is
So
that similar? The detects
the noise
the
decibels,
noise, the decibel level.
decibel
Yes.
levels,
No, I
yes,
have not. You know why?
because you're not in
I've
noisy
not
locations.
upgraded to
Oh,
the
there's
latest
another
watch
reason.
OS
You have to
because
be on 6. Yes.
I don't have iOS 13 yet. It
Ah,
will not upgrade my
you're right.
watch
You're,
until I get iOS 13. So
okay, so this will be
there you
a
go.
listening of what this does. Um, I've talked about the Noise app, and it's really awesome. I was very impressed the fact that here you have a watch sitting on your wrist and being able to be in an environment to tell you whether or not you're in a loud um if you're in a loud situation or not, or if it's like a concert, be a good example. Um,
Potentially could damage your
right.
hearing being
So
in this environment.
on your watch, it'll pop up and say loud, and it says repeated long term exposures to sound can damage your hearing. Okay, so 103 decibels. So even in a normal room you might be in, you may be at 40, 50, 60, 70 decibels depending on
Sure.
depending on where you are. But the so knowing the fact that you have this device on your wrist that's going to measure how much sound is could potentially be damaging your ears, not only to all the other health benefits that watch has. Well, this article actually talks about um, a young boy. Actually, he was 21 years old. He's autistic, and if we know, I mean, I'm not by no means an expert of autistic kids, but I know that I always see that a lot of autistic kids have to wear headphones over their ears
Sure.
because
Sensitive
they're very
to,
sensitive to sounds and
yeah.
to um. So really, what the article said was when someone was speaking too loudly or too softly, he knew it based on the noise app. So it
Wow.
would really sense him being able to and help him sense be much better with his sensory perceptions with sound. Um, take a look on at that article. It was pretty impressive. But I'm glad I brought it up because it is something more reason you want to get some upgrades because there are some benefits to some of the things that the Apple Watch as well as
Yeah.
iOS has.
Apple, you can criticize them, you can praise them, but one thing that they've done consistently well is their accessibility efforts.
Yeah. Oh,
Whether
100%.
it's vision or hearing, or in the case of this particular app, it's not something you would necessarily think of as an accessibility tool at first glance, and yet here's proof that it is very much that. And uh, the fact that Apple can put in a device that runs $250, not only this fantastically amazing tool,
Right.
but all the other tools that come built into the watch, or that you can, find a third-party app to do for you. Any one device, if you look at devices that measure decibel levels in a room, I would be I would be willing to bet. I could be wrong because I haven't looked this up, but I'd be willing to bet that they're far more than $250.
Oh, yeah.
And now we've got that built right into the watch. Now, actually, correct me if I'm wrong here, but that is only available on the Series 4 or higher, correct?
I thought it's part of iOS 6. I could be wrong.
Or is it on?
Watch
Can you
OS
do it
6,
on
as long as
the
it's on Watch
Series?
OS 6.
You can do the
Um,
Series 3 as well.
I'll have to check that. Sure. I had thought that the other models do have the capability,
Hmm.
but you might be right. Series 4 and higher.
My wife is convinced that my ever diminishing hearing. What did you say? Is because of how loud I listen to music in dorms. But
Checking
I
the
probably should have had an Apple Watch then.
I'm checking the noise app, the support article I have here. We'll get that in the show notes, and just we'll confirm that. But I think Series 3 also does it,
Hmm.
so
Cool.
we'll get that confirmed. So, the other topic I want to bring up, and I know you're a big Disney fan, which is awesome. I know it's a lot.
Huge.
I know you love Disney. We talked about it last episode, but it's still worthy of talking about again. Disney Plus streaming service.
Yes.
It's hot right now. I mean,
Yes,
they've
you
had
did
some.
talk about that, didn't you?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
did, and I wanted to kind of get your views and on what if you like the Disney Plus service. Was it something that you think was you were happy that Disney got into? What were your initial thoughts about it?
Hmm. Well, unlike Apple, I think Disney Plus is kind of a natural for Disney to get in. I'm still not convinced that Apple TV Plus was the right direction for Apple. I get
Yeah,
it. I know why they might want to do it,
sure.
and understand. And it looks like some of the content is pretty good. I think Dickinson looks awesome.
Yeah, you can binge watch that now.
I know, and I have not subscribed. I mentioned this on Chuck's show last week. I have not
Yeah,
subscribed to Apple service yet. Disney Plus, I did subscribe to because they
yeah, you a deal.
sent me a deal that I just couldn't pass up. It was something like 3 years for the price of two, or something like that. And the timing of it was really, really good because it was just this week that Hulu announced they're going to increase their prices by 20% next month. So that's a killer. Uh, the interesting thing is that when you actually sit down and compare the prices of what you get for the Hulu Plus less commercials, or Hulu Live TV plus Hulu without commercials, is $60.99 a month. And if I look at YouTube TV and then look at adding on Hulu without commercials or something, I'm actually going to be paying more. So we're kind of deciding what we're going to do come December, because the switch for us is December 18th. I don't know if it is for everybody else, but we're paying $51 now, and they're pumping it to $61. That's not
Uh,
an insignificant increase when you look at the percentages.
right.
So Disney Plus, I think it's going to run us over the course of the first 3 years something like, I don't know, an insane $3 a month or or something like that. It was too good of a deal to pass up. So we did subscribe to it. Loaded up the dutifully loaded up the app on the 12th when it came out, and it's great, especially if you are a Disney fanatic and um, you just want instant access to this back catalog of movies and TV shows and things like that.
Mhm.
It's very important to point out that it's not quite as complete as they made it sound like it would. There are several key shows that are not there, properties that Disney owns that are not there inexplicably. I'm not sure why they're not there. There was a fantastic animated series back in the early 2000s called House of Mouse, not there.
Hmm.
The Muppets, not there. You can only get the latest Muppets TV series that was on ABC just a few years ago, which was great. But what about the originals? What about that Muppet Show classic that Disney
Right.
owns? Why is that not there?
That doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't make sense. They never released anything past season 3 on DVD, so there's something about that. I wouldn't be surprised if it were a legal tussle with the Henson family or something like that. But there, for whatever reason, this very important property that they own is not there. Talk about a way to breathe new life into uh, a series that you own. Instead, they're pushing The Simpsons, which
Yeah.
is
All 30 years is on there.
okay, but they're also cropping it oddly. They're not. They're basically pan and scanning it. So they're taking the 4:3 episodes and they're cropping them to fit a 16:9, which is interesting. In a blog post I read, they pointed out how visual jokes that are
Yeah.
embedded in the scenes are actually being cut off because of the way that the shows are being cropped. So
Hmm.
that's a little disappointing. Granted, it wasn't their property to begin with, but there you go. So my main interest in Disney Plus is really their new programming. I,
Okay.
let's be honest, Disney fan. I own all the movies.
Sure.
They come out on Blu-ray. They came out on DVD. I own them, and it's not that I have to go get the disc out because for the past 4 or 5 years, Disney has been including a free digital copy with it.
That's
So
true.
in their Movies Anywhere service, not only do I have it on the Disney streaming app, I've got it on iTunes, I've got it on Amazon, I've got it in Google. I've got these movies anywhere I want them, thanks to Movies Anywhere. Hence the title. So it's not even that I need a digital copy of it because I own that too. So the back catalog doesn't interest me quite as much as other than for casual viewing. If I just want to, oh, let's watch this old Mickey cartoon or let's watch this. It's interesting that they have a lot of Pixar shorts on there that are already out there for free on YouTube. So that's kind of interesting. But it's the new stuff. It's the Mandalorian and it's the Jeff Goldblum series and it's things like that that I'm a little bit more interested in. And I will be watching that. There's I'll be darned if I can remember the name of it right off the top of my head, but there's a series that takes you behind the scenes of Imagineering. And I'm really interested in
Sure.
watching that series. And there's going to be a companion book. A book. Oh,
Hmm.
right, with paper
Oh,
and
wow. You can read a book?
all that fancy wood pulp that's going to be in it. That's coming out in December. That's a companion book to that series, and probably buy that book because that's the kind of thing that I do as
Well,
a Disney
because
fan.
you're passionate about it, like we're
Uh,
passionate other things. So
so yeah, it's the new programming I'm most interested in, more so than old episodes of
Simpsons.
Hannah Montana or Simpsons. Hannah Montana, is that Disney? I don't
Yes.
know. I think it is.
Um, how do you normally consume watching your streaming services? Are you doing it on your iPad? Or are you mostly on your TV? Maybe Apple TV? Do you use?
What a leading question that was, David. No, on a Roku.
Roku. Okay.
Roku Ultimate is what I use. I do have two Apple TVs. There's one not more than 4 feet away from us as we're speaking right now that drives this display in my office. And its primary purpose is to put what's on my Mac screen up on the big screen when I'm
Oh,
showing stuff off for clients and things like that. So there's an Apple TV back there, which cannot be upgraded anymore. So I'm not running the
just
latest
three.
tvOS on that. Yeah, it's free. Still works great for
No,
what I use it
they're fine.
for.
They're still fine.
And then I have the classic silver Apple TV at home. You know, they're
Oh,
the first
the first
generation with the hard drive in
generation.
it and all that.
It still works.
It still works and not used. It's unplugged right now, as
Yeah.
I should point out. But I do have that one. So it's not like I'm a stranger to Apple TVs, but I really do like the Roku ecosystem.
Hmm.
It did have some channels that weren't at one time available on Apple TV. So that's why I kind of went with that. But Apple TV's come into its own. It's a much
Yes.
better platform than it was when I last used it regularly, and it would be a fantastic substitute for Roku. It's just that that's what I have, and I haven't had a need to update
Yeah.
it. So that's where I consume almost everything, and then secondarily on the iPad Pro.
Okay. All right. Let's change another gear here. We're going back and forth here, different topics here, but I found another interesting story. It's getting close to Black Friday.
Yes,
Thanksgiving's coming upon us in the United States, and
less than 2 weeks, I
yeah,
think.
Black Friday is actually very late this year because if I remember correctly, you talking to Chuck Joyner saying, Cyber Monday is on December.
It's actually in December
It is
this
in
year. Yeah, it's
December.
December 2nd.
And we'll talk about Cyber Monday here in a minute, but about another topic there. But um, there's a big news story, and this is also on 9 to 5 Mac about the fact that they're going to be selling an Apple Watch Series 3 for $129.
I
So there
know.
is no excuse at this point for someone not to have an Apple Watch.
The 3 is a fantastic watch. And I can say that with authority because I'm actually
Right.
wearing one right at the
And I
moment.
still have the 4. I did not upgrade.
You have the
Surprising,
4.
surprisingly enough, I have not upgraded this.
My,
Everything else, yes,
my
but
wife has the 4, and I have the 3. And you know what? I am very, very happy with it. There are certainly some things about the 4 that I would like, but I have not quite felt compelled to make
yeah,
that leap. Probably we'll look at next year's
yeah.
model when
I
it
mean,
comes
when the
out
6
and
probably
think
comes
about
out, I mean, I might
upgrading then.
look at that point. But there was
Yeah,
only a couple things that between the 4 and the 5. So,
just
um,
minor upgrade.
but for someone to get into having an Apple Watch, I mean, obviously you have to have an iPhone in order to have the Apple Watch. Um, this price point is amazing, and the thing is too, it's not going to be all the big time retailers, Amazon, Walmart, Best Buy, Target, all are going to probably sell this watch at that price. So, and the good thing is Apple is still making this watch, so it's
There's
not like they didn't stop making it.
they're still making it, and it kind of is encouraging too to someone like me who uses it on a regular basis to know that Apple is likely to support it now for several years to come if they're still selling brand new ones as late as Black Friday 2019.
But I we will have a link in the show notes about this on this article about this, and uh, I just tell you, buy an Apple Watch.
I love it. I can't imagine. I had a different smartwatch before
Right,
the Apple Watch,
and
and
I think last time you were on the show, you asked me, is it worth when your wife wanted to buy the Apple Watch Series
the
4S,
4,
and
yeah, the
we
Series
talked about
4,
that. Yeah,
and I had that Moto 360, and it was nice. But unless you've used an Apple Watch, you just don't know how seamless Apple makes the experience and how much better the sensors are on it than, well, at the time, the Moto 360 that I had. I'm sure some of the other watches that are out there now are much improved, but I can't I can't envision even wanting to look back at something different.
yeah, it'd be crazy at this point. So, um, anything else that's been uh making you happy with iOS with your iPhone as of late? You've been other than we got to get you upgraded.
What? They still sell this new. It's the 8
No, no, I
Plus.
mean upgraded OS. Yes, yes.
Upgraded OS. But but that said, it is the iPhone 8 Plus, and I did buy it new 2 years ago, 2017, I think.
Yeah,
So
the A plus is fine.
I think it's
good.
fine.
It's a perfectly good phone.
My wife has the 10R,
Okay.
and it's a nice phone. Uh, I I don't know. I am very happy with Touch ID. I have exposure to both, of course, with Face ID on my wife's phone because I'm helping her with that quite a lot. Um, I like the Touch ID experience better, so I'm really eager to hear how or if these rumors will pan out about an in-screen fingerprint sensor for 2020. I think that would be a nice addition. You can still do Face ID, but why not include that in-screen fingerprint sensor too while you're at it?
Yep. I are you an AirPods user at all? Do you use
I am
AirPods?
not.
Because
I'm
I
not.
do have the AirPods Pro. I did do my review last show, so I'll have to show those to you after the show. But they're they're amazing, and they just actually just came out with a strangely enough a firmware upgrade. No one knew about it other than very observant Apple people in the Apple community saying, "Oh, it looks like the firmware was upgraded on it," but there's no information to why or what was upgraded or any of that. But apparently, they just did an upgrade to the AirPods
I don't
Pro.
remember hearing of any issues with the new.
No, no, they work great. I mean,
Yeah.
I've raved about them. If I could be using them on this board right now, I'd be using them. But unfortunately, God, you can't do Bluetooth on this. But they are pretty amazing. So
They're nice. You know, if you did hear uh, my conversation with Chuck the other day, one of the questions he asked me, it was one of his famous 5 questions episodes. And one of the questions he asked is, what music streaming services do you subscribe to? And the
right,
answer is none.
none.
I don't, I mean, technically, I guess I subscribe to Amazon Prime uh, because I subscribe to Amazon Prime. And I do occasionally flip it on and listen to music, just like I occasionally flip on Pandora or Spotify or something like that. And technically, we subscribe to the business version of Spotify at my wife's store so that we can stream music there. But yeah, I don't subscribe to one, and I don't really listen to music on my iPhone all that much. It's either in the car using the car speakers
Right.
or sitting at my Mac using the Mac speakers. So very rarely do I even use headphones. So I think kind of like the Apple Pencil, it would probably be one of those things that I purchase and then just have to remember to keep recharging every few weeks. And I don't need another device in my life that I need to remember to recharge. So I have not yet purchased them. Although I do think they look like they're fantastic,
There.
fantastic earbuds. And well, it's a communication tool, really.
Yeah.
But I haven't had a need for them.
All right. Let's before we wrap things up here, let's we got Mac Stock 2020 coming pretty soon here, and
Sooner than we think.
yeah, and you just talked about it with Chuck Joyner and on Mac Voices, but I know you did mention there's potentially going to be uh, early bird or I'm sorry, a Cyber Monday sale coming up.
Yes,
I'll just
not
kind of tease people because it's not up yet, but I definitely will be one of your podcasters that'll be telling everybody you need to go jump on this great amazing deal.
yes, this is a 1 day only sale.
Right.
We started this last year for the first time. It went really well. And so I said, well, let's give it another try this year. We did have our largest attendance ever this year in 2019.
That's
I'm
awesome.
super proud of that. Super proud of all the presenters we had.
Including me.
Um, you yourself included. Just an amazing year of MacStock, and with so many more people having come, I wanted to make sure that all those folks had the opportunity to get the best pricing that they could on MacStock tickets. So we are going to do a Cyber Monday sale again this year. It's like I said, it's a 1 day sale, um, December 2nd, and pretty much from well, my intention is pretty much from midnight, 12:01,
Just like Cyber
December
Monday is.
2nd. Yep, until the end of the day, Central Time. I should point out Chicago time,
Yep.
Central Time. Um, we're going to be running this sale with $100 off the regular price of MacStock's 2 day weekend pass. So MacStock is going to take place. It's going to be our 6th year in
6 years.
2020. I can't believe it. Feels like we just
Imagine
did
I
the
was there
first
all
one.
5 years too.
I know, I know. And it's July 25th and 26th, 2020.
Yep.
That's Saturday, Sunday. Right here, we are actually just as we record this, we're in Woodstock, Illinois. It's just up the road at McHenry County College. They have a fantastic auditorium there. And we there's not a whole lot to announce quite yet, right? We only put out the first call for speakers. We don't have our speakers lined up yet. We don't have any special activities lined up yet. That's all going to be coming very soon. But Cyber Monday sales for conferences or for online type events are always a little like this. We don't really have the opportunity to know everything there is to know about it. But if you've ever been to MacStock before, it's going to be a great week. And what I can tell you is that we're going to have 10 speakers again, just like we have the past few years. All those speakers are going to give their 20-minute talks in the morning. That's our morning sessions on Saturday and Sunday. And then everybody gets free lunch Saturday and Sunday. And then we go into the deeper dive sessions in the afternoons. Those are longer 45-minute sessions. And so that really means you're going to get every presenter for, what is that, an hour and 5 minutes.
Right.
And then that's not even including the offstage time, the hallway,
the networking
conference, if you will. You run into someone in the hallway, you run into them in the evening event, and you can pick their brain a little bit more, or they can pick your brain if you had a particularly good question while they're giving their presentation. So we have all those presentations Saturday and Sunday. We're going to have our evening event on Saturday, as we always do. I'm pretty sure we're going to have that second annual MacStock Short Film Festival. We talked to Wally about it already. Wally Truinski hosted it this year. He sounded like he was ready to go for that second year. So, Wally, if you're listening, I hope you're on board for this.
We want you, Wally.
Yes, we want you. It's going to be a great weekend. So be sure, if you haven't, go to max.conferenceandexpo.com. Hopefully put the link in the show notes. And sign up for the newsletter. The newsletter is going to be one of the first places we announce the Cyber Monday sale, and there's only a couple more announcements left on that. And then on Twitter, at max.expo, we'll be tweeting out some of the information about the Cyber Monday sale as we get closer to it. And take advantage of that discount. I want you to come out to MacStock, and I want you to have the best price on the tickets you can absolutely get. So that's going to be December 2nd, Cyber Monday, and that's how you can get that special discount.
All right. Well, with that, let's. I think everybody pretty much knows how to get a hold of you, but why don't you just tell everybody how they reach you, with their Twitter and MacStock and all the things that you do.
Oh, sure. Well, we just talked about MacStock, so that would be max.conferenceandexpo.com. On Twitter, I'm at MacStockExpo. The podcast is called For Mac Eyes Only, and that's at formaceyesonly.com. And the Twitter handle for that is at For Mac Eyes Only. So those are probably the best ways to get a hold of me. Don't hesitate to send me a direct message or email or anything. I'm always happy to hear from everybody.
He's very receptive to all of those cards and letters. Keep them coming. Thanks, Mike, for being on the show. This was great. Got to do it. We got to do this in person. We don't do this very often, and we're usually doing it virtually. And this was a lot of fun. And hopefully, the show sounds great on my new Rodecaster Pro here.
Oh, I'm looking forward to hearing that.
Yeah,
that's a fantastic.
Yeah, we're gonna have some good sound. I got it recorded on the device as well as we did it on the computer. But I'm having this feeling the wave file on this device is going to be pretty good. So we'll definitely give you the best quality of audio going forward. So I'm looking forward to it. So.
I think when we've wrapped up, you've got to play the cricket sound.
Yeah. Maybe I forgot which one it is.
I think it's the green, second to bottom.
Was it this one?
I think that's cricket.
No, that was the rim shot. Sorry.
Oh,
I'm not doing it anymore. This isn't a comedian show, and I'm not Guy Searle. So, all right, let's wrap things up here. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address at feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter at InTouchWithIOS, and you can subscribe in your favorite podcatcher, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, and even iHeartRadio. Or better yet, just go to our website at InTouchWithIOS.com, where all the links are to all the ways to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Twitter at DaveG65. Thanks again, Mike, for joining me this week. This was great.
Oh, thanks for having me, Dave.
Extra special episode this week. And thanks for listening, everybody. We'll talk to you again soon.